Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And today I am over an hour now behind in my timings that I had set for myself. But we are here, aren't we? Today I'm spending a little bit of time outside. Maybe not a little time, maybe a lot of time. Today I'm just going to spend the afternoon by myself, with no direction, no destination, like physical destination to be in, but to be in that contemplation, to review a lot of the topics that have come across my path in the past week or so, to also reflect a little bit on my feelings and how I'm feeling, how I'm actually doing in this moment. Sometimes we don't really pay attention to our needs, right? Because we are going 100 miles an hour. We're going in that direction. These are our goals. Too bad if we're tired. Too bad if we're hurting. Too bad if we just don't feel like it. And this isn't in that good partnership with ourselves. Yes, things have to get done, right? My videos, my live shows wouldn't get done without me taking that initiative just to show up. And I am grateful that I can just hit that live button and I can spiel, right? And not even knowing from the second, 1 second before hitting that button, what the topic of conversation is going to be in most cases, right? That's the magic for me, right? That's part of me having that trust in myself. Sometimes I feel like, what are you contributing to the table, Cindy? It's not just in your company, though I understand lots of people, they show up and they just show up with nothing and yet they draw in. I actually want to bring something to the table. And it's why, I have pivoted. And it's funny that I say that word pivot. And it is a little bit planned because when I saw this card, because yesterday I pulled two cards in my life. I can't remember what the second one, effort. It's here to also effort and pivot is I pulled these up, but it was the end of the night and I was tired and I was showing up for the sake of showing up. And sometimes you just have to be proud of that effort. But in ending my live show and then coming back in and taking the lesson for myself, I said, Cindy, you can do a little bit better by that, not in just presenting it in your live shows, not just in presenting it and talking about it in your podcast, but actually living that. Today I put off to the side specifically to spend outdoors, to spend with myself, by myself, but maybe not by myself because I also, right, interact and understand that things come across my path for a reason. And that's my invitation in choice to get closer or to initiate a conversation or change my mind or directive in what I'm doing and go a totally different way, right? I leave myself open. I am willing for change to come into my life however it wants to, however, most of the time, how it needs to, right? And I'm saying how it needs to because in the creation of the best human being I possibly can, right? I understand that it's going to be in my choices. It's going to be in my effort, that actual energy and that initiative that I take in the moment when something comes across my path. But just like I'm an hour behind in my live show, why? Because I was enjoying my shower. I was enjoying getting ready for the day, that I was in contemplation, but also not just in contemplation, but understanding that I was an hour behind in the timings that I had set for myself. So I'm dealing at the same time with that little bit of guilt, right? And that little bit of agitation, possibly, that, oh, Cindy, you just can't even stick to your timings. Like, how are you supposed to build that brand? How are you supposed to build the momentum without actually just sticking to the routine, just sticking to the itinerary, the schedule, right? And it is in how I talk to myself that makes it so that I am procrastinating, so that right? I don't want to get motivated in whatever I'm doing. And the thing is, it's not because I don't love being outdoors. If I could just snap my finger like bewitched and be out there and be on my walk, oh my goodness, that would be absolutely amazing. But for me, it is in the start. And I understand that. So go getting back to this word pivot when I picked up my cards today, right? So I was ready just to quickly grab a card and go into the topic for a few minutes. That top card, pivot. Change is in the air. Spring is here, depending on where you live. There are some parts of this continent that I live in where it's actually fall going into winter, and that's a truth. And this is the not just the it's the curiosity of the world. It's understanding that yes, it takes all kinds to make the world, but it is in riding the changes in our life, and whether that changes is a catastrophe, a tsunami, an earthquake, your husband coming in and saying, I think that I don't want to be married anymore, or an accident that lands a loved one in a hospital, or a diagnosis when you just thought life was just getting started and you were starting to really feel good, right? That we understand that we have to ride those waves also. That's a part of our life, right? And when I say a part of my life, I also have to say, right? Just like the way I was talking to myself, that guilt of not being able to stay on my timings, my own sense of schedule, that's me not treating myself well, not recognizing that this part of me doesn't serve me well when you're button heads with it, when you're not allowing it to go at the pace that it wants to go in, or allowing it to change its mind, right? To allow it to change its mind, because sometimes that's where the magic is. It's in how we treat ourselves. Now, I have been out and about, and I come from a dynamic family where both ends of the spectrum lie, thrive, thrive, right? And I don't like to say negative, positive, right? I don't want to say good, bad, because none of it is either. Because you can have on the outwardly the most spectacular, amazing persona, body, mind, job, house, car, all the goodies in your life, and still not be happy with yourself. Why? Because you're not spending time with yourself, because you're not taking yourself into consideration. And yes, just as much as a human could be a Debbie Downer, right? Our souls, those, right, however you want to call it, those other parts of ourselves can become disillusioned and, right, start talking to us funny and stuff. And who wants to be around that? Lots of people shut down. Lots of people delve into their coping mechanisms so they don't have to think that. They don't have to go there. They don't have to do anything except ignore what's hurting and is coming to the surface. And, we're not all lucky to have well rounded lives, right? Well rounded guidance and mentorship in our upbringings, to have lives where there's no struggle, right? But sometimes that's where some of our most beautiful qualities grow. And that's a truth. In my struggles, right? In my struggles, I got to recognize those other parts of me. And then in my struggles, I also got to recognize that I was not the only part of me that was struggling, that there were parts of me that were trying to be the cheerleader, trying to be the helper, right? Trying to be the good one, whether it was the good daughter, the good employee, the good sister, the good friend, the good YouTuber, right? And I am grateful for the few lessons that come across my path that get to be the evidence, that get to be. And hello, Melvin. I'm coming back into that comment in 1 second so I don't lose my thought. I'm so grateful for those tools along my belt that, you know, have offered up lessons if I choose to change, to make a different choices, right? To make a different choice, to treat myself with a little bit of kindness, and to recognize that all those souls, human souls out there, right? Because we are an amalgamation of both. We are a conglomerate of both. And yet we try so hard to make the parts of us that we don't like the bad guy, the problem, the Debbie Downer. But we have to start somewhere. I started somewheres. Where that is, could I pinpoint that? I don't know. I don't know if it's coming from my childhood. I don't know if it's coming from a relationship with that dynamic family that I had. Maybe it was that introvertedness in a way, because I am extroverted and introverted, right? Like I do both. I can take energy just as much as I can give energy, right? But it is in the lessons, it is in the experiences, the adventures, and just life in general, and just being willing, right? To make a choice, to test the water, to put my big toe in the freezing cold water, to test the temperature for myself and decide, am I going up to the knee? Am I going up to the breastbone? Right? Going to the armpits. That's uncomfortable when you get that high. Or you are just going to make that one dive and just go all in. I'm a believer in baby steps. It serves me well. I have people in my life who do go fast, and I've had this conversation recently. I am grateful for, right, the characters that are in my vicinity and in my life, right? That I get to, as a spectator and as a student, recognize that maybe somebody else taking that lesson can be the lesson for me, rather than me having to go through that myself. That I can recognize that, oh my goodness, this is what happens when you go too fast, or too deep, or you run too far off the main trunk of the tree, or you obsess about something and you think it's part of the story, and yet every conversation, every experience is signaling something else. But because of our own stubbornness, because we are only human, we run with the wrong ball, right? And then again, we beat ourselves up for being the problem, the bad guy, right? I am in partnership with myself, right? I believe I'm my own best friend. Not a lot of people could say that. Not a lot of souls could say that. But some can, right? Actually, if you look around, right, in this digital age, you can recognize that there are human souls absolutely everywhere. And everybody's trying to untangle the wires, and everybody is rubbing up with what they hope, right? That they are optimistic that might help them out. But we can't help anybody until we help ourselves. And that's why we have these tool belts, right? This is why we take in the lessons. This is why we search out conversations, friends, mentors, guidance, experiences, and adventures so that we can grow. But unfortunately, we can't do that being surrounded by so many at once. And we have to sometimes get away with ourselves, right? And so I'm going for a walk, and I am grateful that those other parts of me are feeling okay, that they're feeling optimistic, that they are ready to go. But sometimes, in my own preoccupation, in my procrastination, and in my ability to be distracted by so many things, that I don't actually get all those messages. I get lots. You guys know that I get lots. But what am I missing, right? In the past week that I've been off work, I've been spending a lot of time with myself. And yeah, getting a little bit of a bombardment in that, but in a good way. In a good way. And I'm feeling better. But am I on a schedule? Have I got an itinerary? Am I ready to go? Am I having conversations and letting the majority of myself come to the table? Or am I still, right, being stubborn and not as willing as I would like to think that I am, right? It's going to be in my choices. And sometimes when things stall out, when things are too comfortable, we have to pivot. We have to bring the change in our lives. We have to decide which lessons to take in. We have to decide how much time we're going to spend outside, how much we're going to spend in the housework, how much time we're going to spend in the lessons, and how much time I'm going to spend in the brand. But not only is it about the time, but it's how and what, right? I don't know where I'm going today. I'm just going to lock my front door, and I'm just going to get out there, and I'm just going to start walking, and whatever comes across my path, and I can tell it's going to be amazing. It is +9 Celsius today. It's a good temperature. By the time I get out of here, my hair will be dry. I don't want to catch a cold with wet hair when I'm out. It's going to be the first time without wearing a toque or a hoodie, right? Be outside, wear my light jacket, some comfy rain boots, dancing some pedals. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, you guys. I said I would be walking out the door at 1 p.m. We're going on 2 p.m. So I'm still less than 1 hour behind in my itinerary, which is good, right? I'm good with that. My live show is done for the day, right? That I'm able to go off and be with the trees, be with the sun and the fresh air, be with myself, right? Maybe do some window shopping. I brought my crackers and my bird seed, right? That I might be able to sit down, because in a park or something that I come across that has a nice, comfortable sense to belonging in the world, meaning Mother Nature, And I bought my tripod and my wireless microphone. And right, if that thought comes to me, right, to gear up, it came to me. So who's to say, right? I will put that effort in, and I'm just going to enjoy my day, right? But getting back to this word pivot before I walk out the door, I'm deciding to bring this change into my life. Where, right? And it will be my decision whether or not to turn around and come home or to hop on a bus and go do something else. I wanted to go to the Museum of Man and Nature. I wanted to go down to the um, the district down there, the vintage, with all the old buildings and the old skyscrapers, and spend the day in some amazing architecture and history. And that came across my mind. But the plan yesterday was just to go for a walk. So we're going to start with that because I think, you know, in that sense of being with myself, that I should be with myself, right? And we all know how easily distracted Cindy can get, right? And it's a lovely day out there, and I suspect I'll get a little distracted, but that'll be okay too. I'm giving the day to outdoors today, so I might not be home till later on this evening, but I'll let you know tomorrow if anything exciting happened. You guys, that's my good cheer. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll fill you in on how my day went. I hope everybody makes some choices in their life. Choices are something that you have to put action to immediately, no matter how small. I believe in baby steps. Just getting started, getting that ball rolling, right? And it's sometimes best if we can make those decisions for ourselves, because if they're meant to happen, if they're going to happen, right? Lots of times we can kind of see a little bit forward, and we know what's coming for us if we don't make those moves, don't make those changes, right? And I would much rather pivot a little bit rather than being cranked 90%, right? That's not fun at all. So I'm going to go for a little 45-degree walk today, see what we can come up in adding a little bit into my life, adding a little bit to my brand, and adding a little bit in the lessons and in the adventures of my life. So we'll see how that goes. You guys, you have a great day. Let me take these notifications down just to make sure that nobody's popped in that I want to say hi. Oh my goodness, I knew Melvin was here. Melvin, I had a big notification over your comments. Okay, Melvin says, my good cheer today is that the snow is melting and hopefully Canada doesn't vote in another Liberal majority government. My dad was a Liberal. I know that much because my dad was like a groupie fan for not Justin Trudeau, but Pierre Trudeau, his father. And yeah, my dad was a big fan of the Liberals. But then again, my dad was an entrepreneur, so it makes sense that he would be a Liberal, wouldn't he? And I guess maybe in some aspects I am too, but I really do believe, that if we do come together, not in a socialist way, not in a communist way, right? But in a way that we can have some mutual understanding so that we can better get along with each other. I would be all about that. I don't know what group that is, Melvin, but I don't know what I am. But yeah. Maybe I like the Liberals because my dad was a Liberal. But then you can also see in the way that I'm talking that I'm not big on politics, right? Because I'm thinking, I was trying to think of what the other groups are, and I'm thinking NDP, Socialist Party. I don't know. I don't know anything about Politics. I'm pretty good with that in this moment, in this life. I'm right. I'm not right. There are things that I'd like to see change, but I'm neither the catalyst or the recipient or the person in need or the group in need for those things that are needed to be changed. What I am, right? If there's a party, there's the word I was looking for. If there's a party out there that's for the kids, right? I really love the idea of mindset getting into the school system, right? It's a good start when we're still not bound by common values, right? I do believe that mindset is a good set of values to start off with because I see mindset in a lot of religious ideas and a lot of um, uh, um, spiritual and religious ideas that I do see mindset, and it is something common that a lot of these groups have. And when it comes to, right, I'm not a religious person, and I understand what I'm doing, right, is kind of a spiritual thing. But you know what? There, which one? Right? There's so many out there. There's so many spiritual and religious ideas out there. I am bumbling along just like everybody else. But I think if I can bumble along just with my common sense of values and pick up people with the same common sense of values, I think that would be a good place to start. Not just for me, not just for my group, but how about the whole world? It's about time, you guys, right? It's about time. We can't get along with others until we can start getting along with ourselves. So let's start bringing in some of those common values. And if there's nobody in your group, you just work with those common values with yourself, right? Just remembering that the soul can be a little bit disillusioned sometimes into what they're coming into. And the human being can be disillusioned by being woken up to some of these dynamic and interesting and curious ideas too. Okay, you guys. Already had 3 groups of geese and ducks flying over my land this spring. So I think spring here is finally here. Well, absolutely amazing there, Melvin, because I got to tell you, I saw my first geese last night when I went out for a little walk, and I just stood there and I stopped, and they weren't in one of these, but they were coupled, right? So if you guys don't know, geese are um a magnanimous mammal. They have one mate for their entire lives. That's why quite often when there's just one geese, and it's because it's lost their partner and they're looking to attach. So quite often you'll find these single geese attaching to a human being. It's because they lost their mate. And right, usually when a geese loses their mate, they die, right? They die from loneliness, they die from not having a partner. So yeah, if you ever see a goose by itself, a full grown, right, adult goose, it most likely has lost its partner, unless its partner's gone off and found food. But usually they usually hang out together when they're feeding, right? One will eat and the other one will be the security guard and make sure that everything is good, and then they'll just switch off back and forth. You guys, I am heading outside. I have made that choice. Let's see what comes of my day. I'll be back tomorrow and let you know of my amazing day. I know it's going to be amazing. We're going to ask for a little miracle, right? Just as a little bit of evidence for myself. And we'll see if that happens too. You guys, have a great day. Thank you, Melvin, for coming in. Enjoy spring. I am enjoying my technically first spring day today by going out for a few hours. I did go for a walk earlier in the week. I try to do those short ones, but a longer walk. I went for a longer walk early in the week, but it was cold. It wasn't spring. Today is spring. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.